Once upon a time, there lived a blacksmith in a village near Baghdad. Every day, the blacksmith would go to his shop in the city and work hard all day. Sometimes someone would come to fix a horse's hoof, and sometimes for stirrups. In short, from his day's labor, he would earn a few dinars, with which he would thank God and feed himself and his family. The blacksmith was a very pious man, along with being wise. His greatest quality was his patience. No matter how difficult the time, the blacksmith never complained. Instead, he always showed patience and gratitude in every hardship. Because of this, the villagers gave him the title of Bu Sabir, Father of Patience. The whole village respected him for this trait, and whenever a difficult time came, they would seek advice from Bu Sabir. In the forest near this village lived a ferocious lion, which would occasionally enter the village. This bloodthirsty beast had devoured many of the villagers' animals. The villagers were greatly troubled by this lion. All of them together went to Bu Sabir, seeking advice on how to rid themselves of the beast. The villagers said, "We should go into the forest and kill this lion." But Bu Sabir said, "Brothers, if you take my advice, then be patient. That would be better, because this is a lion, not a goat that you can easily slaughter. If there is even a little negligence, anyone could lose their life." Hearing this, the villagers accepted Bu Sabir's advice, and believed it best to remain patient. Only a day had passed when, by the will of God, 2 hunters arrived in the village. They were experienced lion hunters. The villagers told the hunters that the lion lived in the nearby forest. The hunters thanked them and set off towards the forest. The next morning, the hunters returned to the village, bringing with them the dead body of the lion, which they had bravely killed. The villagers were now finally free from this bloodthirsty creature. Bu Sabir then said to the villagers, "See, people, because of our patience, we were freed from this ferocious beast. If we, the villagers, had gone instead of the hunters, the beast might not have been under our control, and someone might have lost their life." A few days later, some officials from the Sultan arrived in the village. They were collecting funds for wars. They treated the villagers very badly and ruined their peace. As a result, some mischievous villagers became fed up and killed all those officials, throwing their bodies into the river. After that, they themselves fled from the village. Now the villagers could no longer sleep in peace, because they knew that whenever the Sultan learned that his officials had been murdered, he would destroy the entire village. All the villagers once again went to Bu Sabir to seek his advice. Bu Sabir asked, "What do you all think we should do?" The villagers said, "We should go to the Sultan immediately, ask for forgiveness, and request pardon." Bu Sabir replied, "In my opinion, you should be patient. If you all want to go, go ahead happily, but I will still choose patience. I want to see what wonders time brings." Hearing Bu Sabir's words, all the villagers also decided to be patient, and gave up the idea of going to the Sultan. A few days later, the Sultan learned that his officials had been killed. He became furious with rage, and sent a troop of soldiers to attack the village. This troop of soldiers completely destroyed and devastated the village. The villagers came to Bu Sabir and said, "Our entire village has been destroyed. Let's now go to the Sultan and request forgiveness." Bu Sabir again gave the same reply. "Brothers, I still say be patient, and do not go to the Sultan." The villagers said, "It is because of your patience that we have reached this state. What more do you want now?" Finally, all the villagers gathered and went themselves to the Sultan's court and requested forgiveness, asking him to make their village prosperous again. The Sultan said, "If you had come to me earlier, your village would have been safe today." The villagers said, "Your Majesty, we had already decided to come to you, but in our village there is a pious blacksmith. from whom we never make any decision without consulting. Whenever we face trouble, we seek his advice, and we are saved from many hardships. This blacksmith still advised us not to come, but this time we came of our own will." After hearing this, the Sultan issued an order. Those who were ruined in the attack should be compensated from the royal treasury, so they could become prosperous again, and the destroyed village should be repaired at the government's expense. And the man who advised patience, he should be exiled from the village and told, "Be patient until your senses return to you." On the Sultan's command, the officer exiled Bu Sabir from the village. Poor Bu Sabir set out with his wife and 2 sons. He didn't have a single coin in his pocket to buy anything. While traveling, they passed through a forest where some bandits surrounded them. After searching thoroughly, when the bandits found nothing with Bu Sabir, they tied up both of his sons and left, saying they would sell them as slaves. Bu Sabir remained patient, but his wife began to weep. Bu Sabir said, "O woman, have patience. Surely God will rescue us from this hardship." They continued their journey. While walking, they came near a village. Bu Sabir said to his wife, "You stay here for a while. I'll go into the village and bring some food." Saying this, the traveler walked toward the village, and his wife kept watching with tears in her eyes. Only a short time passed, when a soldier came by and forcefully took Bu Sabir's wife away to make her a slave. When Bu Sabir returned with food and didn't find his wife, he became very sorrowful. But he swallowed his grief like blood and remained quiet. Even this time, he decided to remain patient. He continued his journey, passing through jungles and deserts, until he reached a city in another country. As soon as he entered the city, he saw a roadside inn and went inside. Coincidentally, that day a nobleman had arranged free food for all travelers. Bu Sabir also ate to his fill and thanked God. Then he said to the innkeeper, "Brother, I am a traveling blacksmith. Is there any work I can do here so I may earn my living through labor?" The innkeeper replied, "I have no work at the moment. And besides, this city already has many blacksmiths. So, I don't think you'll find work related to your craft. But if you go to the nobleman of the city, perhaps you can find some other kind of job. Whatever work the noble gives you, do not refuse it. Just do it quietly." Bu Sabir thanked him and went straight to the nobleman of the city. The nobleman was a very cruel person. When Bu Sabir reached him, he was constructing a fortress. The nobleman assigned Bu Sabir the task of lifting large stones. Poor Bu Sabir spent his entire day carrying heavy stones on his back. But in the evening, he was given only 2 pieces of bread to eat. Bu Sabir continued to survive on those 2 pieces of bread with patience and gratitude. One day, a laborer fell off a ladder while working and broke his leg. Due to the intense pain, he started screaming loudly. Bu Sabir went to him and said, "Brother, have patience. Whoever is patient is always rewarded." Coincidentally, the Sultan was present there that day. The Sultan ordered, "Get this laborer treated, and this man who's constantly preaching patience, throw him into the dungeon of the blind well, so that his wish to be patient may truly be fulfilled." Thus, Bu Sabir was imprisoned in the dungeon of the blind well. But even during the dark days of the dungeon, this virtuous man never let go of patience. Only a few days had passed when the Sultan was struck with an illness that turned him into a skeleton. Within a few days, he left all his kingdom and wealth behind and passed away into the eternal world. The Sultan had already killed his own brother during his lifetime, but out of fear of rebellion, he had told the people and courtiers that he had only imprisoned his brother in the dungeon of the blind well. Now that the Sultan had died, The throne had no heir. All the courtiers held a meeting, and together went to the dungeon of the blind well. There they found Bu Sabir, immersed in the remembrance of God. The courtiers assumed him to be the Sultan's brother, and began to bow before him in respect. Bu Sabir couldn't understand what was happening, so he thought it best to remain patient even now. The courtiers addressed him as Sultan the Glorious, took him out of the dungeon, dressed him in royal robes, and seated him on the throne. Bu Sabir had now become a sultan, and he knew that God had bestowed this favor upon him as a reward for his patience. He began ruling with peace and justice. The people were overjoyed to be freed from a tyrant king and to be ruled by a kind-hearted one. Within a short time, Bu Sabir became renowned as a benevolent ruler. His wife, who had been enslaved by a soldier, heard that the Sultan of the kingdom was a just and pious man, so she appeared in the court, seeking justice. Bu Sabir recognized his wife immediately, but signaled her to remain silent, and ordered that this woman be sent to his palace. Bu Sabir then ordered that the soldier who had enslaved this woman be brought to the court. That soldier was brought forward at Bu Sabir's command. Bu Sabir had the soldier imprisoned in the dungeon, and advised him to practice patience. One courtier was astonished, and said to himself, "Until yesterday, the Sultan acted very piously, but today he's sending another man's woman to his palace." A few days later, the bandits who had kidnapped Bu Sabir's sons decided to present themselves at the Sultan's court, disguised as slave traders, thinking they could sell the boys for a good price and earn a reward. The traders reached Bu Sabir's palace with the two boys tied up. When Bu Sabir saw his sons, he recognized them immediately, and through eye gestures, ordered them to stay quiet. Bu Sabir said, "Send these two boys to my palace," and then ordered that the bandits be imprisoned in the dungeon, and advised them too to be patient. The courtier who had been astonished earlier was now utterly shocked. He said to Bu Sabir, "Your Majesty, if I may speak under your protection." Bu Sabir replied, "Speak. What do you want to ask?" The courtier said, "Your Majesty, I am a witness to your piety, but your last two decisions have left me in great confusion." Bu Sabir answered, "The truth is that I am not the Sultan's brother. I am just a poor blacksmith, whom God made the ruler of this great kingdom as a reward for patience." After that, Bu Sabir told the courtiers about his wife and children, and revealed his entire truth to them. All the courtiers said in one voice, "We accept you wholeheartedly as our Sultan." Days went by. The Sultan who had exiled Bu Sabir, the people had rebelled against him. He was forced to flee the country, and eventually sought refuge in Bu Sabir's court. As soon as Bu Sabir saw him, he recognized him and said, "Do you know me? I am the same blacksmith whom you exiled for preaching patience. Now see, I have received the reward of patience, and you are receiving the consequence of your tyranny."